Inferno, Canto 34. Description of Lucifer, surrounded with ice in the very center of the earth, or lowest depths of hell. Judas Iscariot, Brutus, Cassius, and others who have been guilty of ingratitude and betrayed their benefactors. Passing the center, the poets ascend to their other hemisphere, and again obtain a sight of the stars.
Lo, come the banners of the King of Hell, my master said. Then forward stretch thine eye, and if thou canst, behold the monarch fell, like to a windmill in the distance seen, whirling about when night enwraps the sky, or dense and murky vapors intervene. Such seemed the structure that I gazed upon, whereat to shun the cutting blast, I drew behind my guide, for shelter else was none. Now came we, and I penned the verse with fear, where wholly covered were the shades, seen through the ice, in like the straws in crystal clear. Some prostrate, others upright I observed, one on his head and one upon his feet. Another's figure like a bow was curved, when we had made such progress on our way, that to my kind instructor it seemed meet. The creature once so beauteous to display, standing aside, he bade me halt and cried, "Now dis behold! Be thine in this dread spot a heart of firmest courage to provide." How hoarse and icy cold I then became, demand not, reader, since I write it not, for all description would be weak and tame. I died not, nor was life within me left. Imagine then, if fancy thou possess, what I became of either state bereft. Above the ice upreared his bust on high, the monarch of that region of distress, and nearer to a giant's height am I, than to his arms are giants. Now compute how vast in magnitude the whole must be, which to a portion so immense could suit. If he were beauteous once, as hideous now, yet in his pride transgressed his sire's decree, well may he be the source of every woe. Oh, what a prodigy he seemed to view, for on his head 3 faces were upreared, the one in front of a vermilion hue, the other 2 above each shoulder blade, united closely to the first appeared, and at the crest all 3 a junction made. Somewhat twixt white and yellow was the right. The left to look at was like those who dwell where Nile descends from Ethiopia's height. 2 mighty wings extend under each, which to a bird so monstrous suited well, nor e'er beheld I sails such distance reach. Plumes had they none, but in their texture they were like a bat's, which flexible and thin produced 3 winds by their incessant play, and froze Cocytus' lowest depths profound. The 6 eyes wept, and o'er his triple chin the tears and bloody foam poured fast around. At every mouth, in like a grinding mill, he crushed a writhing sinner in his jaws. Thus 3 at once were doomed his wrath to feel. To him in front this crushing was but play, compared with what he suffered from the claws, which from his back oft tore the skin away. That one above, contemned to pangs more dread, is Judas Iscariot, said my guide. Without his feet he plies, within sinks down his head. Of the other 2 whose heads are plunged below, Brutus the one who hangs from the black throat, see how he writhes, yet speaks not in his woe. Cassius the other, with such strength endued, but night returns, and from the abyss of hell we must depart, for all hath now been viewed. My master's neck I clasped, for so he bade. Then judging both his time and distance well, he, when the monster's wings were fairly spread, attached him closely to the shaggy side, and made from lock to lock his downward way, between the wall of ice and rugged hide. When we had reached a station where the thigh doth on the swelling of the haunches play, my guide with much fatigue and urgency moved round his head, where late his feet had been, and like to one who mounts clung to the hair, I thought to hell we were returning. Then panting in as a man forespent with toil, he said to me, "Take heed, for by such stair we must escape from this accursed soil." For issuing through an opening in the rock, he placed me on the brink, and cautiously guiding his steps, a seat beside me took. I raised my eyes, nor change did I expect in Lucifer since last beheld by me, when lo, his feet were seen in air erect. and how I then with trouble was oppressed, let grosser minds imagine, not endued with sense to mark the point that I had passed. Now spoke the master, "Rise and let us on. Long is the way and rugged is the road. The sun is riding near his highest noon. No royal path was that on which we were, but wrought by nature, savage, rough, and rude. Nor was there aught but troublous twilight there. Ere from the dark abyss we take our way, master," I said, when on my feet I stood. "Some words bestow, lest I in error stray. Where the hour is his head upside down, and tell the reason why from west to east the sun so soon had sped." Then he, "Thou still imagines we are on the other side, the central point, where I clung to the worm that pierceth earth. So far, indeed, as I continued to descend. That side we kept, but when I turned past the point, now art thou opposed that would under whose high death, who knew no sphere is that danced on. Its face on Giudicus morn rises, and it is even, and he who erst made of his hide a stair unto this place, remains the same as when we saw him first. Upon this spot from heaven the traitor fell, and then the land, which once was dry, through fear of him took refuge under ocean's veil, and reached our hemisphere. So happily fled the earth which now is elevated there, and sinking here, exalted there its head. As far from Beelzebub as the profound abyss is deep, a place there is below, not known by sight, but only by the sound, caused by a streamlet here descending down along a bed worn by its constant flow, of easy slope in gentle windings thrown. My guide and I this secret pathway chose to reconduct us to the world of light, and up we journeyed, heedless of repose, he mounting first while I his steps pursued, till through an orifice heaven's splendors bright burst on my eyes. Emerging hence, we stars once molded to our sight.